Hello folks, welcome back for yet another build video. This time out, we are building around the Perfect Vanguard skill, specifically looking at the second part of that sentence there where deploying your shield grants 50% of your armor as bonus armor to all other allies for 20 seconds. And while that does have a cooldown of 25 seconds, that means your allies are only going to be without this benefit for 5 seconds, making it quite the complementary build for any type of group play. Not only can you be the tank, you can provide tankiness to all of your allies as well. So with that, let's get into the build. For the specialization, we've gone with the Technician, primarily for the Linked Laser Pointer and the Artificer Hive. The Linked Laser Pointer to give ourselves a little bit more weapon damage, and the Artificer Hive to buff that shield when we have it out, on top of which, if you're running group play where your allies have skills, you can use the Artificer Hive to buff those skills. So for our primary weapon, we've gone with the Kingbreaker, which comes with the Perfect Flatline talent, amplifying your weapon damage by 20% to pulsed enemies. And that, of course, is where the Linked Laser Pointer comes in, because then it'll guarantee that any enemy you're aiming at gets pulsed. So anytime you're using the Kingbreaker now, you're automatically going to be guaranteed that plus 20% weapon damage. For our secondary weapon, we've gone with the Mop, primarily because of that plus 10% armor on kill benefit. It's a nice way to buff that armor if you get a little bit too low, but the primary focus here is you're going to want a shotgun in this slot, and that'll come into play a little bit later. For our sidearm, we've gone with the Liberty. Anytime I'm running a build with the Bulwark shield, I find myself gravitating towards this sidearm. Liberty or Death as a talent is just so great when you're running with a shield. 2% weapon damage per hit up to a max of 60% weapon damage. And then obviously you also have the benefit of being able to repair your shield with just one headshot. For our mask, we've gone with Fenris Group, and that's again to buff the damage of the Kingbreaker. You get 10% assault damage from the brand bonus, and then that core attribute there, while mine is only 12.5%, you'll hopefully be getting a full 15% weapon damage. So total, you're getting 25% weapon damage when you're using the Kingbreaker. Just a way to add a little more bite to this build. Obviously, if you are going with a full-on tank mode, the obvious pivot here would be Badger Tough. You get plus 10% shotgun damage for your secondary, and you're also going to maintain that armor core. As you can see down there, you do get roughly 250,000 extra armor, which is nothing to sniff at. So really what that looks like is you're going to give your allies an extra 100 to 150,000 armor, depending on your particular roles. But when you're already giving your allies 1 million armor, for my money, I felt like the extra 25% weapon damage for my personal setup outweighed the cost of reducing the armor I'm giving my allies by 100,000. Your preferences may vary. I think either choice is a great way to go here. For our backpack, we've gone with the named Uzina Getica, the setup, which has the talent Perfectly Opportunistic, where enemies you hit take 15% more damage from all sources, which if you're running in a group, there's going to be a lot of other sources. And the only requirement there is you have to use a marksman rifle or a shotgun. On this build, I've opted to go with the shotgun. You could obviously go with a marksman rifle if you would rather. I just felt like a shotgun paired better with this particular setup. And then for the attributes, we have armor regen, crit hit damage, and crit hit chance in the mod slot. Armor regen is more of what we just were stuck with, but it also never hurts to have. For our chest piece, we've already talked about it a little bit. We've gone with the named Gilligard, the Pointman. Again, we have armor regen and crit hit damage in the attribute slots, and then we've actually gone with crit hit damage in the mod slot. Even though we're not maxed out at 60% crit hit chance, we are pretty close there with roughly 57% crit hit chance, which meant that going with more chance would have been a waste. But your particular mileage may vary. Just make sure to check that stats page and run your own math to decide whether to put chance or damage in this mod slot. And then obviously we have the Perfect Vanguard talent that we've talked about before. I'll reiterate it again. Deploying your shield makes it invulnerable for 5 seconds, which is very nice, but more importantly, it grants 50% of your armor as bonus armor to all other allies. It's really what you're going to be revolving around with this build. You're there as a great support player. Every 25 seconds, you should be looking at your allies' health bars, seeing where they're out. Honestly, pretty much just every 25 seconds, you're pulling your shield out to give them that bonus armor. but specifically looking for situations where your allies' health is getting low or their armor is being depleted. Give them that bonus armor, give them a buff to get out of trouble, and I promise they'll be thanking you in their head. For our gloves, we've gone with one of our 2 pieces of Foundry Bulwark, and we're looking for that 2-piece bonus of plus 10% total armor. Our core, we've kept his armor, and our attribute slot, we've rolled crit hit damage just to buff that damage as much as we can. If you want to feel even tankier, you could go armor regen, but with only 1 attribute slot to spend, I felt that crit hit damage was a better way to use it. Down here, we've gone with Picaro's Holster. The Brazos Arquebus brand bonus is mostly wasted, but the fact that you get an armor core and a weapon core can't be overstated. On top of that, we've rolled crit hit damage in the attribute slot. And for our knees, we have the 2nd piece of Foundry Bulwark that gives us that 2-piece bonus that we talked about just a minute ago. And then we rolled crit hit chance here. Again, your mileage may vary. Just make sure you check the stats page, run the math, figure out what you need. As with all gear sets, you normally have the opportunity to re-roll your attribute, so take advantage of that and maximize this build as much as you can. For our skills, we've gone with the Artificer Hive and the Bulwark Ballistic Shield. We've gone with the Bulwark Shield here really just to capitalize on the benefits of this 5 armor core build, coupled with Perfect Vanguard. When you pull your shield out, it will be invulnerable for 5 seconds, which when you're running with the Bulwark, it basically means you're going to be invulnerable for at least 5 seconds. You're blocking everything coming from the front and giving your allies a great set of moving cover if they need it. And then here we've gone with the Artificer Hive to buff the Bulwark Shield, on top of which, if your allies are running skills, you can deploy your Artificer Hive and buff their skills as well. So then you can have the wonderful combo of giving them bonus armor and buffing their skills and just being an all-around great support character for your group. So that's it. That's this build. Let me know what you think in the comments. I found this one quite fun to run. Obviously, damage output is not going to be your primary concern, but when you pair the Kingbreaker, Fenris Group, and the Picaro's Holster, I actually found myself doing not a terrible amount of damage, all things considered. And then on top of that, you've gotten almost 2 million armor, 1 million of which you can give to your allies every 25 seconds, really save people from going down, and generally just being a great addition to any group. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
Activated.
Shoot off a flare when you're ready for Torres to bring you home.